Welcome, everyone. We're jumping right in today because this explainer unpacks a seriously profound story. We're looking at how the universe actually teaches its very first great lesson. It's called Learning How to Ride a Bicycle, or the First Ledger of Perseverance. And, spoiler alert, it doesn't teach this through textbooks or some grand, boring lecture. Nope, it teaches it through a highly physical, completely unforgettable, and, let's be honest, usually pretty painful experience.
But before we really get into the story itself, I want you to ask yourself something. Have you ever struggled to learn something that just seemed to come completely effortlessly to everyone else around you? Just think about that feeling for a second. We all know that sinking sensation, right? That sting of being totally left behind by the naturals. Maybe for you it was math, maybe it was a foreign language, or maybe it was a sport. We absolutely all know what it's like to watch someone else just intuitively grasp a concept while we're over there stumbling in the dark. Well, that exact emotional stage is exactly where our story today begins.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our source text introduces us to two twin brothers, Little Johnny and Little Ricky, and they literally couldn't be more different when it comes to learning. Little Johnny is your classic textbook natural. He's quick, he's intuitive, everything is just effortless. The text actually beautifully describes him as absorbing new skills like sunlight. It just happens. Then, on the complete flip side, we have Little Ricky. Ricky is, well, he's slow, he's kind of clumsy, he's awkward. He is the kid who needs literally hundreds of tries just to get a baseline understanding of a new skill. The contrast here is incredibly stark, but it perfectly sets up why Ricky was forced to develop a totally different kind of muscle just to survive in a world that is full of Johnnies.
Which brings us to the inciting incident of our whole story. Picture this. It's Christmas morning, the ultimate testing ground for childhood joy, right? The boys' parents present them with two shiny, bright, brand new bicycles. I mean, they are just full of promise. But this isn't just a fun gift, it's an opportunity. It's this physical challenge that is about to test their wildly different approaches to learning in real time, right out there on the pavement.
So, they run outside, absolutely bursting with excitement. And what happens? Well, the divergence is immediate and honestly, almost comical. Little Johnny hops onto his bike and just smoothly pedals down the block. Instantly. He's perfectly balanced, it's effortless, he looks like he's been riding for 10 years. Little Ricky, meanwhile, climbs onto his bike and immediately falls over. Bam! Right onto the concrete. So he dusts himself off, tries again, and falls again. Over and over. It's just a little boy with flailing legs and wobbling handlebars, and gravity is absolutely winning every single battle.
Now, for most kids, that kind of humiliation, especially while having to watch your twin brother just glide off into the sunset, would totally be enough to throw the bike in the bushes and call it quits. But Ricky didn't. In the midst of all the scraping and the falling, something inside him spoke up. It was this quiet inner whisper that simply said, "You can learn this. Just keep trying." And that right there, that is the spark of resilience. He wasn't relying on natural talent anymore. He was tapping into something so much deeper.
And so begins what the source calls the month of falling. You guys, this wasn't some quick, fun training montage in a movie. This was a grueling, everyday grind. Week 1 gave him scraped knees. Week 2 brought bruised elbows. By week 3, the sheer physical toll had morphed into heavy emotional frustration. But amazingly, by week 4, that frustration had calcified into pure determination. Every single day he tried, every day he failed, and every day he got right back up and tried again. What he didn't realize at the time was that he wasn't just trying to ride a bicycle. Secretly, underneath all those bruises, he was building his character. He was building real faith in himself.
And then, the breakthrough. One day, without any warning at all, something shifted. Little Ricky pushed off, pedaled, and suddenly he realized he wasn't falling. The wobbling stopped. He was actually balancing. He was moving forward. He was completely free. I mean, just imagine the rush of wind on his face after a whole month of kissing the pavement. It was this sudden, glorious moment of pure joy and absolute liberation.
So the really crucial point here is what he actually shouts in this moment. He doesn't yell, "Hey, I'm riding a bike." No. Joy just fills him like sunlight, and he shouts at the top of his lungs, "I did it! I did it! I didn't give up!" This is the emotional peak of our explainers today, because the true victory for Little Ricky was never actually about mastering the mechanics of a bicycle. The real victory was discovering a lifelong truth within himself, the sheer power of simply refusing to quit.
And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute core takeaway from our source material, perseverance. The text defines it as the invisible force that transforms the impossible into the inevitable. Just sit with that phrasing for a second. It's powerful. When Ricky started out, riding that bike was functionally impossible for him. But through sheer attrition, through the simple willingness to bleed a little and get back up, he made his success inevitable. This is the exact bridge that takes us from Ricky's youth right into his adulthood. So let's fast forward years later. Ricky is an adult now and is learning a complex new spiritual discipline or maybe a new piece of technology. And his wife looks at him and says, "Wow, you learn things so quickly." It is a beautiful, deeply ironic twist. Because when Ricky hears this, he just kind of smiles. He knows the absolute truth. He knows for a fact he isn't naturally talented. He isn't quick. He just knows exactly how to persist. He remembers that bicycle. He knows that as long as he doesn't give up, he can learn literally anything.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how our source material elevates this childhood lesson into a grand philosophical concept. It calls it the cosmic ledger. The idea here is that in this universe, perseverance is one of the highest entries you can possibly make in your personal ledger. It acts as the universe's quiet encouragement when your natural skill completely falls short. Just look at how it balances the scales. It balances your fear with courage. It balances your failure with resilience. Frustration is met by patience. Doubt is met by determination. And ultimate limitation is beautifully balanced by possibility. Perseverance is the breath that carries you forward when you feel like you have absolutely nothing else left in the tank.
And we get to see exactly how this ledger pays out in Ricky's adult life. The source outlines the really monumental challenges he faced later on. We are not talking about child's play anymore. We are talking about profound spiritual practice, overcoming massive, life-altering inner challenges, mastering the depths of deep meditation, answering a profound call to India, embracing his inner senses, and even, metaphorically or spiritually, walking with dragons. Not a single one of these immense life achievements was the result of him being a natural like little Johnny. Every single one of these towering milestones connects directly back to those scraped knees and bruised elbows on that sidewalk.
All of this culminates in a beautifully reflective quote from the text, which is referred to as Zoran's Whisper. Listen to this. "Traveler, the bicycle was your first teacher. It taught you that falling is not failure. Falling is the path. Perseverance is the ledger entry that turns effort into destiny." I love that. Falling is not a detour away from your goal. Falling is the very road you have to pave to actually get there. Your effort, when you sustain it, literally rewrites your destiny.
Which brings us to the ultimate conclusion of our explainer today. Perseverance is the bridge between the human and the cosmic. That little bicycle was never just a toy. It was an initiation. It laid the foundation for an entire life. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that whatever you might lack in natural ability, you can entirely make up for by building an inner ledger based on unbreakable, unrelenting resilience.
So, I want to leave you with one final, provocative question to think about today. What is the bicycle in your cosmic ledger? What was that first, painful, totally impossible thing you had to conquer that taught you how to survive absolutely everything else that followed? I highly encourage you to reflect on your own past failures, not as moments of shame, but as the necessary, beautiful investments into your ultimate destiny. Thank you so much for exploring this incredible concept with me today, and hey, keep pedaling.